So I'm Hello everyone. Good evening from wherever you're joining us. I know quite a number of you are joining us in Lagos and also Abuja, a few of you in Accra, and we have Nairobi, and then also we have quite a number of you joining us from Johannesburg. So a warm welcome to all of you, wherever you are in Africa this evening. As we are preparing for the Seed Business School Festival starting this weekend, we'll put this session together to ensure that everyone is well prepared and have clarity as to how they intend for their business school journey to start and what the desired outcome will be in the long run. So you are very welcome. I see about 73, 75 of you, almost 75. Feel free to tell us in the chat where you're joining us from, your name and your city, just your name. So my name is Jojo Kwanzaa. I'm joining you from Accra. So Jojo Accra. And we have quite a number of you as well. Feel free to drop in the chats. Let's see. All right, pleased to meet you all. Okay, so we have quite an interesting next hour on our hands. We will start by me telling you a bit more about the Seed Business School Festival, especially for those who are attending for the first time. And I'll bring in Amy Duckworth. I'll introduce Amy shortly, who will tell you more about how your business school journey can start and how to make the most of it and how to have successful outcomes in the end. I'll proceed to share my screen, and then we can set the ball rolling right away. I hope everyone can see my screen at this point. Hi, Amy, can you see my screen clearly?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So at this point, we have close to 120 participants, so I will start right away. And there'll be time for questions, but as we go along, feel free to post your questions in the chat and we'll try and tackle them as we go. All right. So just a brief introduction about the Seed Business School Festival and how to make the most of your experience. So I'll spend the next 10 minutes to run you through the agenda, the schedule, why this is important for you to attend, and also how to prepare for the event. I'll try and do all this within 10 minutes. Now, I just want to remind you that you have already registered for the Seed Business School Festival, either in Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi, or Johannesburg on the dates you can see to the right of your screen. Now, if you have friends, colleagues at work, other professionals in your field, whom you believe that a business school, postgraduate business school education or graduate management education can't serve their needs and their career aspirations, I will invite you to, I'll encourage you to send your registration link to them so they can register as well, so they can benefit from this in the long run. And once I've run you through all the benefits of attending the event, I hope that will be encouraging enough for you to bring your friends along. The registration is free, attending is free. We have 15 business schools at this year's festival. 14 of them are US business schools, and there's one Canadian business school. even for the US schools, we have NYU STEM's Abu Dhabi campus coming. So this extends outside of North America. So we have Berkeley House, Emory, we have Georgetown, we have NYU STEM, Abu Dhabi I mentioned, we have San Diego, Carey at Arizona State, Lindner at Cincinnati, Daniels at Denver, University of San Francisco, Maccombs at UT Austin, Pepperdine Grazadio, St. John's. We also have Raymond A. Mason at William & Mary. We have Shoolitch from York in Canada. And we also have Vanderbilt joining us for the first time on the Business School Festival. We also have a number of partners, both local and Pan-African, who are joining us as well. This year, we have the privilege of having Education USA from the US Embassy across all the 5 cities as well, to ensure that all your questions are answered as far as the end-to-end process for getting into graduate school in the US is concerned. Now, for those of you who have registered, you will notice that in your registration confirmation email, there is a link that allows you to click to download a QR code. Now, when you click this download your ticket link, it will open a PDF with a QR code. I'll show you how that QR code looks like. It looks like this. Now, this QR code is your free ticket to the event and to all the breakout sessions and to all the seminars at the event. So once you have the QR code display, you can always bring it up by opening it from the email, or you can store the QR code on your phone so you can open it at any point in time. Now, for every Business School Festival, we give away this document called the C Student Guide. All the 15 schools have their profile, their specific requirements, their processes, and their deadlines in this student guide as well. We also include articles that are meant to make your journey easier. So we have articles about how to crack the GMAT, how to pass it well, and how to pass it the first time. We also have an article about how to make a good impression of the admission directors you meet. Mind you, these admission directors are decision makers in the process that you are about to embark on. So it's important that you impress them. You also find articles about how to apply for the Seed Scholarship Fund, which this year has increased to about $6.5 million in total value as well. Now, this is how the format for the day will look like. Once you arrive and you show a QR code and you get checked in, you have the opportunity to either go to the prep stage room or the career stage room. Now, in both rooms, we start with the expert sessions. In the prep stage room, Education USA will come and tell you about the 5 steps to study in the US, which is all the 5 steps you must complete. So this gives you an end-to-end view of the process. And then we also have a session with admission directors on how to stand out. We will prepare you for meeting the admission directors, what to look out for, how to present yourself, how to present your questions, so you can make a strong first impressions for later consideration in the admissions process. Now, each school will also come and make a 45-minute presentation, after which there will be a panel discussion for 45 minutes on a variety of topics. Now, once that is done, golden ticket holders will have a chance to go immediately into the fair room to engage admission directors, and the rest of the audience will attend the GMAT or the GRE session, where experts will talk about how to pass the GMAT, how to pass the GRE, not just with average marks, but with excellent scores. And then we'll also have another session on funding, what funding options and what financing options are available for your business school education, and how to plan towards that. Once that is done, the fair opens for everyone. And whilst that's ongoing, we still have another session on the application process and what to do and what to prepare for as far as the application process is concerned. So I talked about each school having presentations for 4 minutes in each of the 2 rooms, so we can skip that. Now, the panel discussion I talked about, in the prep stage, there'll be a panel discussion of the school admission directors. In the prep stage, the topic will be aiming high, how to set yourself apart as an applicant to top business schools. In the career stage room, it talks about career options available to you post your MBA or business masters in the US or Canada. Both of which topics are important to you. So one talks about how to get in, and then in the other room, we talk about what to do after you get in, complete the program, and leave business school. For the expert sessions as well, we talked about the GMAT and GRE session on how to prepare and how to pass and how to have high scores. We also talked about the funding options as well. Now, once that is done, the fair opens and you'll be able to meet admission directors from any of the 15 schools that are coming for this year's festivals. Now, ensure that when you come in, apart from having your QR code scanned at registration to ensure you attended the event, make sure that every school representative that you engage with also scans your QR code. That's how it goes into their record that they met with you, they spoke to you, and they engaged you as well. And also, this also ensures that they know that you are interested in applying to them, so they can provide you all the relevant support in that regard. Now, some of the schools at the Business Festival are offering application fee waivers. So it's important that they know that they spoke to you so they can extend this to you. Now, in getting ready, just remember 3 things. Arrive in time so you can relax, pick your seat of choice, and get ready for the event. Now, before you arrive as well, make sure you've read enough about the schools that are in attendance so you can ask the relevant questions that directly relate to your interest. And then dress to impress. I'm not expecting everyone to come in a suit and a tie, but try to dress as semi-formally or as smart casual as you can, so you can make a good first impression on the school representative and the admission directors in attendance. 3 more things I forgot to mention. You need to network. So apart from connecting with the admission directors, also make some connections with your future classmates as well. And rehearse your elevator pitch. Make sure that you are very clear of who you are and how this MBA and Masters will impact your future plans as well. And actively participate. Ask questions, engage the panel, be in the room, be present, and make sure that all your questions are answered before you leave and go back home. I mentioned golden ticket holders. Now, we offer golden ticket to high potential candidates who come to the Seed Business School Festival. And we do this on an invitation-only basis, using a combination of their GMAT/GRE score, their career profile, and how well they've done on their degrees, for example. Now, they will meet the admission directors 30 minutes ahead of time, face-to-face. They also have access to an exclusive, they have eligibility to apply for an exclusive golden ticket scholarship within the Seed Scholarship Fund. And then they also have free access to the Seed DIY course that helps to guide them into making applications to business school. I mentioned the scholarship. This year, we have up to $6 million in scholarship funds to help candidates like yourself to achieve your business school dreams as well. So thank you very much. At this point, I will stop sharing my screen. I will open up for questions later. But in the meantime, I am going to invite Amy. Amy Duckworth is the founder and principal consultant. And Amy previously had been director of admissions at Imperial College Business School. She's also been head of MBA recruitment and admissions at Cambridge Judge Business School. And currently, she is the founder of Empowered Admissions Consulting. Amy, welcome to the audience.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for having me.
Okay, Amy, here we go.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share some slides. Is that okay if I just do that now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes, yes, that's clear. You may proceed
Okay.
then.
Okay, excellent. So we will have time for some questions after after I've been through the presentation. So if there is anything you want to ask, then obviously feel free to kind of save those up, and we'll try and answer as many as we can at the end. So today I'm going to talk to you about how to get started with applying to business school, going from including everything from school selection to making a strong impression before you've even applied. So Jojo already gave you a little bit of an introduction to me, but I was formerly a director of admissions. I was at Imperial College Business School as director of admissions, and prior to that, I was head of MBA recruitment admissions at Cambridge Judge Business School. So all in all, I think around 10 years or so working in higher education and mostly in graduate management education. And around a year ago, I left that role to set up Empower Admissions Consulting. And now I work with candidates on a one-to-one basis who are applying to business school. And I also work with business schools on various consulting projects as well. And one of the things that I'm really passionate about is supporting others with their professional and personal development. So the guidance I offer to candidates and the way I work with candidates who are applying to school is kind of like a coaching. Yeah, I really enjoy that, and it's great seeing people achieve their desired outcomes. So in today's session, we are going to talk about the most important factors to consider when deciding where to apply. So that would include career goals, cultural fit, rankings, and scholarships. We're also going to cover how to build genuine connections and engage with your target schools before applying, and that could be online or in person. And then we're going to finish off with talking about how to structure your CV for business school applications to highlight your achievements, leadership potential, and impact. So when you're, first of all, most of you'll be at various stages in terms of your MBA or business or master's journey, deciding where to apply, which programs to apply for. Some people will be in a position where they've already got a shortlist and they already kind of have key schools that they want to target and speak to at an event like the one coming up. Or some people will be using this as an information gathering exercise, which is absolutely fine. That's equally valid. So I just wanted to share a couple of factors, a couple of things to consider as starting points when you're shortlisting schools. So rankings is an obvious one. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but it's a useful starting point. There are also practical considerations. So whether you're looking for online or in person, 1 or 2 years, whether you're looking for to relocate. Then there are career outcomes. So what are your career goals, and what's the proven track record of the school you're applying to? What's their employment data like? Then there's the curriculum, so the actual program itself, whether there are, the flexibility that's offered through things like electives and concentrations, and then whether it's a good fit for you. And that can be a tricky one to assess, and I'll talk a little bit more about how to go about that and what people mean when they say fit, because it's a term that's used quite often, but can be a bit confusing, I think. So just starting off with rankings. So you're probably already familiar with rankings. There are lots of different ones. So 3 of the big ones are the Financial Times rankings, the QS rankings, the Bloomberg. There are many different rankings. And what you will see is that they won't always have, they'll have different results. So what one ranking has in first, second, third position will be different to another. That's because they have different methodologies. Generally speaking, rankings look at they look at alumni data. So they survey alumni from a program and about their employment outcomes, and they also request data from the school about certain things, for example, number of female faculty, or various different things that they're measuring. So they all have different methodology, and they all have different weighting for these different factors. So that's why you'll see variation in terms of where one ranking has a particular school versus another one. They can fluctuate. So year on year, you can see schools go up and down in rankings. And the school may not have done anything particularly different at all. It's just obviously the alumni that have responded to the survey, and whatever data the school is, what the data that the school has returned, they may not be doing anything fundamentally differently, but it could have resulted in a different outcome in the rankings. So that's why I say the rankings are a useful starting point, but you really need to take them with a pinch of salt. They are not the be all and end all. And they do fluctuate, and there are differences across various rankings. So it's one to, maybe if you're, it's one to consider, but not to kind of not to base. I wouldn't base your decision completely on that. So then we've got practical considerations. So the format of study. So are you looking for full-time or part-time? So some schools will have more options than others in terms of study mode, online or in person, 1 year or 2 years. The location. So are you planning to relocate? Also, do you have a target post-MBA location? So if you're looking to relocate to a particular region, obviously, are you thinking of studying there and then remaining there afterwards? And there might be visa considerations around that. And then there is cost as well. So the price of the program itself, the 1 year versus 2 year question comes into this as well, because do you want to take 1 year or 2 years out of the workforce? And then what scholarships or other funding options are available? So those are some of the practical considerations that you need to bear in mind when shortlisting schools and deciding where you might want to apply and study. Then there's the curriculum. So there will be similarities. So for example, an MBA program is a general management degree. And so there will be topics that are covered in any MBA curriculum that you look at. So, things like, corporate finance, strategy, marketing. There'll be things that are covered in any MBA program, but there will be differences. So a few of the things to consider would be the teaching methods. So normally that's a mix of lectures, case studies, experiential learning like projects, but the balance and where the emphasis is could be different between programs and schools. So the teaching method is something to consider. Then the range of electives on offer. So are there any particular areas that you're looking to explore? Do you have any interests or areas you're looking to develop that could be considered more niche? In which case you need to make sure that the schools you're looking at have electives in those areas. And the same with specialisms and concentrations. So if there's an area that you're looking to specialize in, not all schools offer opportunities to specialize in particular topics, but some do. So that's something to consider if that's something that's important to you. And then internship opportunities, depending on the program you're looking at, whether internship opportunities are available, and if that's a factor that if that's something that you're keen to pursue, then obviously you want to make sure that you're selecting a program that has those opportunities. And finally, projects. So whether there are projects with real live clients, or whether they're simulated projects, whether they are projects that allow you to, whether they projects that also allow you some international exposure, so working with global clients or working in a different location. So projects on offer are something that you should look at when you evaluate the curriculum of the schools you're considering. Oh, sorry, that wasn't the last one. There's also international experiences. So that's that kind of ties in with what I was saying about projects, internship opportunities, but also they may offer things like global experiences. You know, if international exposure is something that's important to you, then look at what the program actually offers in that regard, and assessment methods. So generally assessment methods will be exams, but it could also be classroom participation, group projects. So again, most will have a variety of assessment methods, but it's just something else to consider. And then there's career outcomes. So schools that you're considering will publish employment reports for their programs. And usually the data is collected 3 months after a cohort has graduated. So the school will then compile that into an employment report and make it available on their website, or sometimes you have to sign up in order to download it. But the key data points to look at in the employment report will be the percentage of the cohort who received job offers within 3 months, the locations that their graduates went on to work in, career switches. So did people switch country, function, industry, all three? So that's typically called the triple jump. If people switch all three, how many triple jumpers did they have? An average salary. So there'll be other information in the reports. You might have some success stories, or different case studies, but those are the key data points that they'll be showcasing in that employment report. So it's important to consider how that aligns with your own career goals, and obviously it's a sort of proven track record on the school's part as well. So that is important information that you want to look at. Generally speaking, people who go to business school have particular have career goals in mind, or at least they want to achieve career progression, and so employment outcomes are a huge factor in that decision, of course. And then finally, fit. So this is as I mentioned, this can be a bit tricky because it's there's an element of fit that is quite subjective, and it's more about a feeling, but essentially when you're looking at whether you might be a good fit for a school, and a school will also be looking at whether and it works vice versa. So it's whether you're a good fit for the school and the school is a good fit for you. So it works both ways. So a couple of things that you can look at to help you determine whether a school is a good fit for you. So look at the class profile, look at who do they have in their cohort. For example, how much work experience do they have? What's the how international is the cohort? So you can look at the data points on the class profile. Speak to current students and alumni. So schools will sometimes offer opportunities for you to do that. They'll host online panels with alumni. You can also reach out on LinkedIn, or some schools offer chat features on their website where you can contact current students and alumni. So understanding what their experience is, and getting that perspective of somebody who's actually studying there or who has studied there, that can be really valuable in helping you work out whether that school is the right place for you. You can visit the school, obviously, depending where they're located, that might not be possible, but most schools offer a lot of online events as well. So just doing your research and finding out as much information about the school as you can should help you to determine whether it's a good fit for you. And these 3 questions, so ask yourself these 3 questions, and these are all more about feeling. Could I see myself studying at this school? Do I feel like I would thrive in this environment? And do I feel excited about this school or program? So when you're speaking to students or alumni, when you're attending an online event or meeting a representative for the school, do you feel excited about that school? Because that's how you should feel, if the school's a good fit for you. So we're now going to move on and talk about how to engage with your target schools before applying. So the upcoming event is an opportunity to do just that, but there are multiple ways to engage with your target schools. I'm going to give you some tips for how to impress the schools at the upcoming events as well. So we'll cover when, how, and why to engage, purposeful engagement, and some do's and don'ts. So first question, when to actually engage with schools that you're considering applying to. So this isn't a rule, but I would say that the most meaningful engagements would be within 18 months of when you want to start a program. Generally, if you're looking much further ahead, obviously you can start doing your research and information gathering. But if you're kind of, say 5-6 years away from actually wanting to, study at that institution, there is less value in those interactions and engagements with the school. So I would say, like, within 18 months of when you start a program is a good sweet spot. If it's slightly more, that's no problem. If it's a bit less, no problem. But it's just a rough guideline. So how to engage? So attending MBA fairs, school events, online or in person, reaching out directly. So some schools actually offer profile reviews where you can request online a profile review. If schools do offer a profile review, not all do, then I would definitely recommend using that service, because it will give you lots of they normally give you useful feedback and tips on your profile and applying. So if they do offer channels for you to contact them directly, for example, profile reviews, then that's useful as well. And as I said previously, speaking with alumni and current students. And why do you want to do this? Well, it's an important part of your research about business school. Attending business school is a really big investment. So it's an investment of not just your money, but also time, effort. So doing your research is vital. You need to make sure that you are making an informed decision. So engaging with schools can help you to determine whether the school is the right place for you, whether it's a good fit for you. They can answer any questions that you've got. And it's also a way for you to establish a relationship with the school and with the staff, the admissions team working there, and make a good impression. And so what I mean by purposeful engagement is, this isn't a tick box exercise. This isn't, oh, I've sent an email, so now they kind of know I'm applying. This is using those interactions to make a positive impression. Also, it should be, obviously there should be a purpose for the engagement from your side. You're getting information, you're developing your understanding of the school and what they offer. But also, what's the impression you're leaving with the school and the person you've interacted with? So each engagement should be valuable, impactful, and purposeful. Some do's and don'ts. Do some research before engaging with the school. So on their some simple looking at their website is enough to get started. Do ask for feedback. So if you're having a discussion about which program is right for you or your profile, do ask the school representative for feedback. Follow up on LinkedIn or via email. So if you've had a positive interaction with somebody from that school, do reach out to them on LinkedIn and thank them for their time. And just that gives you helps you to further develop that connection. It shows that you've taken the time and effort to thank them. Also, if you have any questions or issues in the future if you decide to go on to apply, you've got someone that you can come back to and hopefully can help you out if you've got anything you're stuck with. So do take the time to follow up on LinkedIn or via email. I think that's important. Some don'ts. Don't ask very basic questions that are easily answered on the website. Things like, how long is your program? Where is your school based? Very simple information, because that's not a good use of your time at the event, and it's not a good use of the admissions director time either. So do some basic research beforehand. Don't ask them to compare their schools to others. Generally they won't. They'll just talk about their own program, but schools don't. It's just a bit awkward just if you ask them to compare their offering directly against another school. So I would advise against that. And don't contact too often. You don't want to be in their inbox multiple times a week, pestering them. You need to be respectful of their time. You can reach out with purposeful engagement, but it's not just, you know, oh, my name needs to be top of their inbox, because you won't create a good impression that way. If you're unsure what to ask schools at an MBA or Masters Fair, I've got some, hopefully some inspiration for you here. So generally I've put the, I've kind of separated these into a few buckets of themes for the questions, and an example for each one. So I'll go through those. Obviously, there's lots of different things you can ask them, but these are just some suggestions. So one of the themes would be about the program and the curriculum. So this is an example of a question there. So I'm interested in your, could be global immersion, exchange, partnership program, whichever is applicable. Can you tell me more about that and how students typically leverage that in their job search? So that question shows that you have done a bit of research, you've mentioned something that's specific to their program, their school, and you've asked for more information about it. And you're asking a question that's, you know, more, it's more in depth than just something, you know, like which term is the project, in which term does the project take place, or which semester does the project take place? Another theme is culture and student experience. So an example of this type of question would be, what opportunities are there to network with students from other programs or other campuses, if applicable, if the school has other campuses? So again, that's something that, you know, it's calling on direct experience, and it's not something that's necessarily obvious from the school's website or material you could have found yourself. Then there is careers, support and outcomes. So this is an example of a question you could ask there. I'm interested in exploring entrepreneurship as a longer term career route. How could I do this while studying? You know, what opportunities are there for me to develop that interest? This is, you know, it's nice to ask questions that also show a little bit of what you're interested in. So this example is entrepreneurship, but it could be anything. So giving a little bit of information about yourself as well. Another topic is alumni engagement. So how do alumni typically stay connected or engage with the school and each other? So, you know, there could also be something around alumni success stories, or, you know, opportunities. Do they have any events where you can meet alumni? So alumni is another topic you can ask about. And then the last one I would highlight is next steps. So how would you recommend I continue my research about the school or program? So this is where you could ask about if they have any upcoming events. It could be online events, or you know, what would be a next step? What would they recommend for you to do? So those are some suggestions. Obviously, you can ask them whatever you'd like to, but it's really nice if the question shows that you've already done a little bit of research, you have some knowledge of their school and their program. It doesn't have to be in a great amount of detail, but it does help to show that you've read something yourself, or you've talked to someone yourself, or it's sharing a bit about your own profile and your own experience and your own goals. So I will also just talk about scholarships. So scholarships or funding is something that you can ask about, but I would try to avoid funding being the central, being the kind of center of your discussion with the admissions directors. It's fine to ask about it, but I wouldn't make it the first question, and I wouldn't have, you know, it shouldn't be the only kind of topic of conversation. So I'll just give you a few key points to remember about scholarships, just so you have a basic understanding of how they generally work. Often schools will advise you to apply earlier in the cycle, and particularly if you are looking for scholarship funding. And that's because there's often more of it available in the earlier rounds, because they haven't allocated funding by that point. And sometimes they even have deadlines that are midway through the cycle that you have to have applied by in order be considered for a scholarship. So making sure you're aware of that. But yeah, it's likely if you're keen to be considered for scholarships, applying early is usually advised and beneficial. Then how to apply. So for some scholarships, you won't have to do anything additional. The school will just assess. They'll assess you for that scholarship based on your application and everything else that you've already submitted. But some schools and some scholarships do require you to do something like an extra essay or a video submission. So that's something to bear in mind. Like, is there an extra requirement? Is there something else I have to do in order to be considered for this scholarship? And then there are two types of award, like very broadly speaking. There are needs-based awards. So those would be for candidates who are demonstrating financial need. Not all schools offer those, but they that's generally you would need to have some. There would need to be normally some evidence of financial need or income. And then there are merit-based awards. So those would be typically looking at things like your GPA, your GMAT or GRE, and the overall strength of your profile. So having a stronger profile with higher scores will help your chances in gaining a scholarship. And there could be some in the middle of these two options, of these two buckets, which are needs-based, but also look at the strength of the profile and the application. So it's important to look at what scholarships each school has, what you might be eligible for, and what the requirements are. Okay, I am going to move on. I'm just checking how we're doing for time. I think we're doing okay for time.
Yes, we're doing okay.
Okay, great. And we're saving questions for the end, yes? Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about crafting a standout CV. And the reason that I wanted to talk to you about this at this point in time is that you may wish to take a copy of your CV with you to an event like this, where you're going to be meeting admissions directors, and you also have the opportunity to get guidance and feedback on your CV. So you might wish to have a copy ready to take with you. So we're going to talk about the purpose of the CV, the format, what to include, and what schools are looking for generally. So first of all, the purpose. So it's a tool to convey your fit for the programme. It shows the impact you've had in your professional life so far, and by extension, where you aim to go. It demonstrates key accomplishments. So in terms of your growth, your leadership potential, and it's showcasing that you'll be an asset to the class and to the school, both now whilst you're actually a current student, but also in your future career. And this is important. The what you've talked about in your essay and the references you've given needs to line up with your CV. So it's important that your application, it should have a golden thread running through it. Everything needs to link and kind of be consistent. If what's on your CV doesn't match with the examples you've given in your essay or the references, then it becomes confusing and disjointed. So it's important that everything links nicely. I would also really recommend making sure that what you've got on your CV is the same as your LinkedIn profile, if you have LinkedIn. So in terms of the employers, the job titles, the dates, because if there are discrepancies there, again, that can cause confusion, particularly if you've had a career where you've moved about a little bit, or maybe you've had a kind of portfolio career. You know, if it isn't a very simple career trajectory, then you know, they may look at LinkedIn to kind of see how it fits together. So just making sure that that matches is important. Then the format. So ideally 1 page. Some schools insist on 1 page. Some say they have a preference, some don't specify. But ideally, your business school application CV should be 1 page, definitely no more than 2. If they have a template, then use it. They've provided it for a reason, and their admissions teams are used to seeing CVs in this template. So it's really helpful for them if you've put it into their template and they're seeing something that's consistent with the layout and the information that they're used to seeing. So I know if you're applying to multiple schools, that might mean doing a few different versions, but it doesn't take a huge amount of time. I definitely think it's worth doing. I would advise against the use of color and images. If they have a template, normally they won't have it'll just generally be quite a plain template. But in, broadly speaking, unless they've said they want images, or sometimes as part of the application portal, you'll upload an image. But generally your CV, I would advise against the use of color and images. Yes, okay, that was everything on the CV format. And then what to actually include. So academics, your subject, institution, and grades. So for your any previous studies, whether that's undergraduate level, master's level, so make sure you include those. Professional qualifications. So for example, if you've done any, like, it could be like CFA or any teaching qualification, any professional qualification at all that you've done, diplomas, then you should include those. Your work experience, your title, the company, the location, and the dates, and relevant technical skills. So that could be something like languages. Do you speak other languages? Are you skilled in coding? So any technical skills should also be included on the CV. And then key achievements, any awards or recognitions that you've received either in your academic life or in your professional life. And then interests and extracurriculars. So this is often, I was found when I was reviewing CVs, this would often be something that I would kind of like jump to first. I think it really gives a nice sense of your broader interests, and this is a chance for you to kind of maybe show a little bit more of your personality and what you do outside of work. But don't just put, for example, the name of the activity if you're involved in any initiative, or if you've so as an example of this, say you've set up like a football like a football coaching, I don't know, some sort of football coaching thing. Make sure you put what you've actually done. Don't just put football as the interest. So make sure you actually use that space on the CV to say what you actually did. Don't just put a one word, actually, or if you're interested in, it could be travel, maybe you'd want to mention a particular highlight of somewhere you've been, or if it's hiking, mention a particular place that you've been hiking. So just adding a bit more flavor to the CV, I think, is a nice way to make it memorable as well. I think I saw one that said cooking, I'm a personal chef to my wife, which I thought was quite funny. But you don't have to do things like that, but it's just give a bit more information. What schools are looking for. So obviously your academics, they're looking for strong academic credentials. On your CV, they're looking for clear career progression. So they want to see a clear route and your development and growth. So make sure that you include, if you've had promotions, make sure you include each job title that you've held. So sometimes people will just put the most senior job title they've held at that company, but actually it's really useful if admissions teams and admissions directors can see the progression. So they can see, oh, they were in this role from this date to this date, then they were promoted to this role, and they were in that role from that date to that date. So actually showing that clear career path and that progression is really important. If you haven't had structured promotions in that way, then highlighting any increases in responsibility or additional projects or things that you've taken on. International exposure. So have you, it doesn't necessarily need to be that you have worked or lived or studied in another location. It could be that you work with international clients, for example, or international suppliers. So it's that global mindset. International exposure doesn't necessarily mean living abroad. And then for each bullet point under each role that you've had, achievement outcome focused bullets, so demonstrating your drive and initiative. So this shouldn't just be a job description, so you need to think about impact and achievement. If you can quantify that in any way, if you can, increase this from, increased sales by, or increased productivity by X percentage, if you can quantify any of the impacts and achievements, then that's helpful. Obviously, depending on the nature of your role, maybe it won't be possible, but if you can quantify and put in some numbers, it does help to break up all the text on the CV. And then written with clarity, impact, and relevance. Transferable skills also, especially if you're thinking about career switch, highlighting transferable skills is going to be important. And clear personal impact shows who you are. So this is what I was mentioning. The extracurriculars can be a nice way to do that as well. Could be some volunteering or charity work that you've done. Could be a community initiative. Those are all things that schools would like to know about. Okay, I think we've got 10 minutes remaining, so that will be for questions. But just to finish off, so there is a post-event bootcamp as well, which I'm running, which will be called Building a Strong Business School Application Strategy, Story and Support. So that's focused on the next steps after you've met with schools. And you can also, if you're interested in one-to-one guidance on your business school application, you can reach out to me. I do offer discounted rates for candidates that come to me through Seed. So do reach out to me if you would like to book in a call. I also do free introductory calls as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out if you'd like any support. Okay, Jojo, over to you for the questions.
Thank you, Amy. That was great. So
it was a lot of information, I think. I'm sorry, it was a lot of information to cover. So hopefully it wasn't too.
So that's right. So we do have quite a number of questions in the chat.
Okay.
But I just wanted the whole house to know that I've seen a few questions about funding and scholarships. I don't think today is the right platform for that. Today we are more focused on getting ready for the process and how to make sure that you're leaving a good first impression. So let's focus on that. However, what I can do to help is that I've just posted the link to all of you to read about the Seed Scholarship Fund. Okay, the Seed Scholarship Fund. But mind you, eligibility to apply for the Seed Scholarship Fund includes attending a Seed event as well. So hopefully I'll see you in either Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi, or Johannesburg as a way of unlocking that eligibility as well. Amy, I've seen at least one hand up, but I think there are some concerns about the sort of classification people graduated with. So someone said they got a 2-2.
Yeah.
And they're asking whether they should indicate that on their CV.
Yeah, so generally, your degree classification generally would be on the CV, or if it's, it would always, the school will always ask for it in the application form. So you will have to disclose that grade. So on the topic of grades, I would always say not to try and convert them yourself into the system of wherever you're applying, like if it's a different GPA system or something, I would just include it as it is on your transcript. And if your grade is, most schools you can check this with the schools that you're considering, but it's a sort of common approach that if your undergraduate degree grade is slightly below what they would ideally be looking for, then a stronger GMAT or GRE can help to compensate for that and offset the lower grade. So you can ask their guidance on that, but generally that's quite a common approach, that it's not like, oh, it's a hard fast rule, if you don't have this grade you can't apply. It's a holistic approach. We're looking at the whole profile, so a higher test score can help to offset that.
Okay, thanks, Amy. I have a question from Isaac Danso. So Isaac, I'm going to modify Isaac's question a bit. So Isaac talks about wanting to specialize in supply chain operations and logistics.
Yeah.
My follow-up question to aid Isaac is, should Isaac at this stage in his career be looking at specializing in, let's say, an MSc in supply chain operations and logistics, or he should consider getting an MBA? What's the difference, and how would it impact his career in what ways?
So an MBA is a general management program. So you will be, it's much broader, and the variety of the variety of roles that people who've done an MBA will go on to will be far greater. It depends really what your career goal is. So MBA is generalist. It's often used as a platform for people to make a kind of switch in their career. So whether that's the function, location, or industry, function, or location. So it can be used by people who want to make a career switch, or just general career acceleration. People who are looking to move into more senior management or leadership roles. If looking at a specialized master's, obviously the career outcomes for that will tend to be a lot narrower. So if someone has already decided that they want to be a specialist and work in a very specific role in this specific area, and that requires that specialism, then a more general degree is perhaps not going to be suitable for that. So it really depends on where you are in your career, and what your goals are. So I mean, there's no right and wrong. It depends on what you're hoping to get out of it, really.
All right, thanks, Amy. So there was one hand up. Okay. Oh, there are 4 hands up, but I think I may have seen. David, I'm going to allow you to talk, so you may unmute your mic and ask your questions. David?
All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. Yeah, so I really enjoyed all of this presentation. I just wanted to request for this presentation document, if it can be made available, so I can go through it for better preparation against Saturday.
David will work on that. Thank you. Thank you, David.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask George. Just for the audience, so questions about scholarships, I've sent the link in the chat to the Seed Scholarship Fund page. You can always refer to that and make your informed decisions. But questions about applications, questions about what's bothering you. There's a question that Abdul Muhiz asked about whether the GMAT is necessary for getting into business school, for which I responded that there's a dependency on the school's particular requirements, and for some schools, it's an absolutely unpassable requirement that you have to work on. So, George, I am muting you. You may go ahead and ask your questions. Your microphone is muted, George. Okay, George isn't ready, so I go to Kevin Mwandao. Okay, so Kevin isn't also ready. If Ufoma, I've given you permission to speak as well.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for your presentation and thank you for your time. So my question is about what to know, like what are the important things I need to know about getting a reference. So I know that I'm supposed to get a professional reference. What exactly should my reference write to improve my application success? So I know that, so from previous experience, some schools have a standard for reference. whereas some schools just allow the reference or the reference to write anything. So how do I guide my reference to write the correct thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Thank you. So I'll just start by saying, when it comes to choosing someone to write your letter of recommendation, I always recommend choosing someone who you know well, who's worked with you closely. Some people think that it's better to get there's a kind of myth that your letter of recommendation needs to be somebody very senior in the company. Unless you work closely with that person, that isn't going to be helpful, because the best references are detailed, providing examples, insights into how you work, and your strengths. So if someone hasn't worked with you very closely, they're not going to be able to write something meaningful and useful. So it doesn't matter what their job title is. It's better to have someone who's your direct supervisor, direct manager, rather than the CEO of the company who doesn't know you too well. And then in terms of what they should write, so most schools will provide some prompts or questions. They'll ask the person to compare them against other people in their peer group, and they'll ask for examples of how they've worked. So it could be things like teamwork, communication, leadership. It's useful for them to have actual examples of how you've worked and what you've achieved as well. And then it's really useful for you to have a conversation with your referee about your goals around business school and your longer term goals. Not that they're expected to kind of write about that necessarily, but it's just for them to understand why you're doing, why you want to do an MBA, so that they understand how it fits with your goals, and get them on board, because it is, it's important that they're kind of happy and willing to write the letter. I've seen examples of people being asked to write it themselves. Definitely, stay away from that. It's really important that it's authentic and genuine. So if the school doesn't provide anything at all, then it would be kind of comments about their relationship with you, how you've been working together, and then detailed, some detail, including examples of particular projects or initiatives or skills that you've shown. But generally, in order to be useful, there does need to be a certain amount of detail there, which is why it's important that it's someone that's worked with you closely.
All right. Before I go to the next question, there's this sentiment I picked up looking through the charts, where people are wondering if they should still go ahead and write the GMAT or the GRE, even if the school they intend to attend does not require it, and whether that boosts their chances if they have it.
If the school doesn't require it, then, well, if they say that they have a preference for it but don't require it, it depends what the school says about it. But if they say that it's just not required and they don't indicate any preference for it, the only circumstance I could think where it would be useful is if, for example, your undergraduate grade is below what the school is looking for, and you want to demonstrate your academic potential. Perhaps you don't feel that your undergraduate grade is reflective of your true abilities. Often people have taken their previous studies were several years ago, and perhaps they want to have something more current that they feel is a better reflection of their abilities and potential. So yeah, but if your grade meets or is above what the school is looking for, and they don't need the GMAT or GRE, then I don't see any reason why you would do it. Oh, with the caveat that if the role that some post MBA some post MBA recruiters look at GMAT or GRE score, or more GMAT typically. So if it's needed for your if you're looking at an MBA and it's needed for your post MBA career route, then you might need to do it.
Absolutely. I'll come back to a question about age, but before then, Julius Sabla, I'm giving you permission to ask your question. Over to you, Julius. You may unmute your microphone. Whilst we are waiting for Julius, Lucky, the issue with logistics and supply chain was explained as the MBA being a more general degree rather than a specialized master's. Julius isn't ready, so we will move to, thank you, Informa. That was a good question. We will move to Bright. Bright, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Amy.
Go
Can you
ahead,
hear me,
Bright.
please?
Yes, loud and clear.
It was actually an insightful session. My notes is full, crafting a standard CV, scholarships, and most important thing, I had to jot down questions to ask at first, and then what schools are looking at for in CV. But I wanted to ask from your own experience while at Cambridge, if, of course, you would have had 1,000 students apply, how did you come up with selecting a few whose profiles are different from the rest? Because I believe most of the applicants would have all had good academic profiles. They would have also put in the CVs as would expect, and the scores would have also been great. How did you make the final selection when back in the days?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think that when you read a lot of applications, I think it's really, when you come across an application that's very memorable, very interesting. Admissions officers, they read so many applications. The last thing they want is a boring generic application. It's not just about the grades, it's actually the schools really want that authenticity, and they want to see who you are as a person, what motivates you, what you would bring to the community. So when you read an application that clearly shows that, like who the person is, and what what drives them, and what they've achieved so far, I think those applications really stand out. At Cambridge, we also, and Imperial as well, many programs, we also interview the candidates as well. So if somebody looks like a great candidate on paper, they've put in a strong application, then they'll be invited for interview, and that's another chance for the school to get to know them better, and for them to see whether they would be a good addition to the cohort. So I would say my main tips on standing out would be you need to have your story, your in terms of your own journey, what you've done so far and where you're going. You need to be clear about your story, and you need to be don't write what you think the school wants to hear. You need to it needs to be authentic, and it's personal to you. It shouldn't just be something that anyone could write. The other thing that I think is important is showing that why that school, showing you've done your research, you're motivated for that school in particular. So, believe it or not, I've actually read applications where people have put the wrong school name because they've not properly checked it. So if you're really, committed and motivated for a particular school, that doesn't mean that that's the only school you're applying to, but it is important that the person reading your application can tell that. Like I said, an MBA is a big investment, so you need to show that you've actually thought about this, and that you're committed and driven, and that you're keen for that particular school.
Oh, thank you so much. So I can take from your response that there would have also been moments you selected students with lower test scores ahead of those with higher test scores, but who have greater or more authentic stories.
Yeah, test scores isn't the test scores is not the only thing. You know, if somebody has a super high GMAT score, that doesn't guarantee them admission. It's about the candidate, and also not just the it's also about the impact that they've had in their career and their life so far. So it doesn't, test scores isn't everything.
Oh, great. Thank you. Let me give others opportunity.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Bright. That was a very good question. So from Bright, we will go to Abdul Rahim Taye. Abdul Rahim, I've given you permission to speak. Our time is, we've gone past our time. So after Abdul Rahim, I'll have one more question. Amy, one more, right after Abdul Rahim?
Yeah, that's fine. One more. Yeah.
Okay. So unfortunately, Abdul Rahim hasn't unmuted his microphone yet. So I'll go to Innocent and Chill. Innocent, you may unmute and then you can speak.
Hi.
Hi, Innocent.
Okay, sir. Thanks for this opportunity for this clarification. My question, first of all, is about a CV. For example, I'm interested in AI management, and I've done a couple of short courses, especially the free courses from HP. So I want to ask, firstly, is it necessary for me to add it in my CV? And also, the second question is that it's been 5 years I completed university. So is that something that I need to do to be qualified, or just my undergraduate qualification in marketing is okay for me to qualify? Yes, I have above, my GPA is above 3. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll answer the first question about the short courses. So doing short courses like that, that's a great way of demonstrating that you've explored an interest further and how you've done that. Whether or not you include that on your CV, it depends really. I mean, like we've said, it's ideally 1 page. If you're short on space, then you might not be able to. But it is something, you know, you could include it under an umbrella about you know, other interests or something like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be listed, you know, as it's not really qualifications as such. I would put it more under interests, or if you've, it depends if there's a way that it's mentioned elsewhere. It also depends how important it is for your application. But if it's so the answer is it depends. If you've got space, yes, but I wouldn't put it with, like, short courses wouldn't generally go under your qualifications. And then the other question was about your degree from 5 years ago. I didn't quite understand the question, I'm afraid.
Okay, I was asking that it's been 5 years I completed university, and I want to know, is there something different that I'm supposed to do to get qualified, or the degree is just okay? I have a GPA of 3, more than 3.
Yeah, so if it's it depends on the requirements of the school you're applying to, but if they require your previous undergraduate degree, that they may, it depends what their grade requirements are, but generally speaking, when people are applying for post experience programs, generally it will be several years since their previous degree, so that's common.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you, Innocent. So,
Sure.
Amy, I was gonna bring on Livingstone. Livingstone has a question about how his first degree is an accounting major, but it's
Okay.
tailored. It's a Bachelor of Education degree in accounting. But I want to expand this conversation to cover also all those who may not have traditional business degrees and wonder if an MBA and graduate business school, it's a place for them, or whether there's room for them in the space with their non-traditional, either they have a non-traditional business degree or they have a degree in something else, history, philosophy, etc., etc.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, you do not need to have a business degree or a business background to apply and be admitted to business school. The schools really value diversity. They want to have diverse cohorts with people from different professional backgrounds, different geographies. They want that, and that diversity is what makes for a really vibrant and valuable classroom learning experience. So definitely don't be put off by thinking, oh, I don't have the right background, because in reality, you know, both at Cambridge and Imperial, and, you know, when I talk to the, you know, my network across different business schools, everyone loves to see profiles that are a bit different, that's not kind of your, you know, typical MBA profile. Everyone loves to receive those applications. So definitely don't be put off by that.
Absolutely. But for someone like Livingstone, who's had an education degree
Yeah.
and has taught business in school, either in business school or in secondary school, how can he tailor his CV so that all that experience in the classroom looks relevant for a business school application?
Well, I think it's about focusing on what I've said about focusing on impact and achievements, and it's about focusing on transferable skills as well. So it's, you know, how does what you've done how does what you've done prepare you for what you want to do? So how has your experience been valuable? And it's linking that. I mean, there's lots of ways you can link the, you know, the transferable skills, but then also what have you done outside of, you know, your roles or your previous roles or your studies? Is there any, this is a great way for extracurricular or voluntary work to come into their own as well. Have you demonstrated, you know, for example, if someone in their professional career hasn't had the opportunity to take on a leadership role, but they've perhaps done something outside of work where they develop their leadership capabilities, that's where you can put that in. So it's not like everything doesn't have to be from your professional experience. You can bring in any wider experiences that you've had as well.
Great. So I promised 2 questions, even though I asked the second one. I'll take so we'll take the last question from George Midega. George, you're allowed to speak. You may unmute your microphone. Go ahead, George.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, George.
Oh,
Can you please
hi.
speak up?
Okay, thank you. Emmy, thank you for the well-laid presentation. I liked it. And thank you for the chance, Sid. Actually, I have 2 questions, but let me just ask one for Emmy. The other one I'll ask, it's about for Sid, but I'll keep it for the event. So, Emmy, do you have like people who you placed, like they went through the program and you followed, they did like a follow-up, and like, do you have anybody and who you know who has done it, who did well as per expectation, or who never did well as per your expectation? What is the experience?
So George, just for clarity, are you referring to someone who graduated from an MBA program and how they did afterwards, whether their career became better, or if there were clear improvements in their career trajectory? Is that right?
Yeah, like if Emmy had like a personal connection with the said individual.
Yeah, I mean, across my time at both Cambridge and Imperial, I had a lot of connections with alumni from both schools, hosting different alumni events in cities around the world. So I met an awful lot of alumni from both schools, and, you know, heard about their stories and what impact the MBA had for them. But obviously, you know, it really, I would say that, you know, that there are and schools will showcase on their website alumni success stories, and, you know, someone who's transferred from this to this, and you'll be able to see, as well as the data, you'll see alumni case studies and things. But I would say, you know, thinking about career outcomes, your employment report is the place, you know, where you'll find like the hard data and the most recent data. So where the most recent cohort, what their outcomes have been. So yeah, I've met a lot of alumni and I've heard a lot of alumni success stories. But yeah, I would say for each school you're considering, take a look at the employment report and see what outcomes that school has achieved in recent years for their graduates.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, George. I see we have a few more questions, but our time is fast spent. You can see Amy's email address on your screen. You may also reach out to us through info@seedglobaleducation.com. If you have any questions about our upcoming events or about the Seed Scholarship, feel free to reach out to us, info@seedglobaleducation.com. And you can also reach out to Amy at empoweradmissions.co.uk.
Yeah, I'm very happy if anyone wants to reach out to me. I do offer one-to-one admissions consulting. So you can book in, you can send me an email, you can also book in a free introductory call. And then, if you're interested in kind of working together on your MBA applications or business school applications in general, then yeah, let me know and we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Thanks to everyone who joined us today. I was expecting folks to join in from just Lagos, Abuja, Accra, Nairobi, and Johannesburg, but we also have people join us from Lusaka, Zambia, and also Harare, Zimbabwe. We are happy to have all of you. We've given the email addresses. Thank you. We hope this has been helpful to you. I'll see a few more of you at the Seed Business School Festival starting this Saturday. So do take care and have a good night wherever you joined us from. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Amy. This has been exciting. Thanks for coming to share your experience. This has been impactful, and I know that a lot more people are feeling confident after this session on where to take their business school process and where to also start from. Any last words from you?
So much.
Any last words from you?
Words from me? Yes. So my last words would be about when you've got the opportunity to attend an event like the upcoming Seed events and meet representatives from top business schools. It's a really good opportunity. It's really exciting to be exploring business schools. And yeah, I think I know the process, it can feel daunting, but actually, I think it is actually, it's an exciting process. And hopefully through choosing, looking at which schools would be best for you and actually putting together your application, I think it's an important part of the journey to business school. So try to, even though it can feel daunting, try to enjoy it. And it's an exciting road ahead. So I'm wishing you all the best for the upcoming event, and perhaps I'll speak with some of you on a one-to-one basis as well.
All right. Thank you once again, Amy, and goodbye to everyone. Good night, Amy.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.